From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your MTN Noon News. Good to be with you on this Wednesday. I'm Don Hudson. Despite its initial growth, the Observation Point fire in the Bitterroot National Forest is holding at just about 100 acres. It's also now 57% contained, but continuing to burn in the area near Hamilton. MTN's Emily Brown toured the fire lines and shows us how a forest management project, from years ago played a key role in keeping this fire from consuming hills and homes.
When the Observation Point fire started on July 24th, it was moving really fast near a lot of homes and the Lost Horse Lodge. But when crews got on scene, a lot of their initial worries about how destructive this fire could be went away, and that's because of a previous fuels reduction project.
I could see the smoke coming, and my first thought was like, oh man, that's in people's backyards.
The Observation Point fire had all the markings to be a major blaze, much like 2016's Roaring Lion fire, also located south of Hamilton, which destroyed homes and burned around 8,000 acres.
Lost Horse Canyon, July, it was windy, and a fire kind of down on the bottom. Our first thought was, oh no, here it comes, Roaring Lion fire all over again.
However, the 2018 Westside Collaborative Vegetation Project, which harvested fuels in the Lost Horse area, quickly made the Observation Point fire more manageable.
Than the forest, so our trees are more spread out, and we selected the best trees that had the most fire resilience and the best health.
Civiculturist with the Bitterroot National Forest, Amy Campbell, says that the project changed the wildfire's behavior.
By opening up the canopy and reducing the ladder fuels and the density of that canopy, we're able to create conditions where the fire, which started on the bottom below us, was able to run up the slope but stay on the ground.
Campbell, as well as Darby-Sula District Ranger Steve Brown, note it's easier for firefighters when the blaze isn't moving fast through the trees.
The bucket drops and the retardant were more effective because of the open canopy and the ability for that retardant and water to get down to the forest floor.
Having this treatment in place, it gave us options, it gave us a fighting chance, and thankfully we ended up with a good outcome.
As the Observation Point fire is in the mop-up stages, Ravalli County Commissioner and Hamilton volunteer firefighter Jeff Burrows says the project in 2018 saved homes and the Lost Horse Lodge, and he hopes that more fuels management will continue, including around home ignition zones.
We're going to live with fires, but the question is, what kind of fires are we going to have? Are we going to have Roaring Lion fires that burn all year and burn down houses, thousands of acres of forest? Are we going to have fires like this that we can actually get in and engage and get out before they destroy thousands of acres of public land and private property?
In the Bitterroot, Emily Brown, MTN News.
A 17-year-old boy is still recovering after suffering significant thermal burns during a hike near Old Faithful in Yellowstone National Park. Now, according to the news release, the incident happened Monday when the teen was hiking in the vicinity of Lone Star Geyser. The teen's foot broke through a thin crust, resulting in burns to his lower extremity. The boy was transported to the hospital. The incident remains under investigation. By the way, this is the first known thermal injury in the park this year. U.S. Congressman Ryan Zinke has announced his Greater Yellowstone Recreation Enhancement and Tourism Act. Now, the bill would include the designation of 100 miles of Gallatin and Madison rivers and some tributaries into the National and Wild Scenic River System. Currently, just 408 miles of Montana's nearly 170,000 miles of river system has been designated as wild and scenic, which preserves free-flowing rivers by maintaining water quality, preventing dams or channeling, and protecting the river's unique qualities.
This is an example of bipartisanship. Certainly our public lands, you look at where America stands on public lands, firmly, we don't want to sell. And we also want to make sure that we preserve and protect the systems and the health of the systems and the rivers, and that legacy is part of that.
Congressman Zinke and supporters say the Greater Yellowstone Recreation and Tourism Act has been fully drafted and will be presented before the Senate with bipartisan support. Zinke vowing to get the act fully passed. Now, MTN's Megan Lane went to the Gallatin to learn what the wild and scenic protections could actually mean for people who depend on the river for really both their business and connection.
For anglers, this stretch of the Gallatin River is already wild and scenic. But Congressman Ryan Zinke wants to make it official.
There's an actual trout out there, but that's really hard to see him because he's a much darker color.
As Josh Stanish shows me how to spot trout in the Gallatin, it's clear his connection to this river runs more than 30 years deep.
The rivers are an important place that brings a lot of people together.
He's spent 2 decades as a guide at Trout Chasers, a local lodge offering fly fishing adventures on the Upper Gallatin. When he's not casting a line, Josh is in the classroom teaching at Highlight Elementary.
Teach them about the importance of our state and the environment and everything we have here.
And fishing here isn't just for fun, it's big business. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks estimates Montana's fishing industry brings in more than $900 million a year.
The fishing industry is a huge part of what goes on in Montana. Outdoor and tourism is definitely Montana's bread and butter.
Which is why,
having some protections I think is important. Our environment is definitely changing as our climate is changing, and so we're going to have to do everything we can.
And that's why Zinke's plan caught his attention. The congressman is proposing a bill to add 100 miles of the Gallatin and Madison rivers to the National Wild and Scenic River System, a federal designation first created in 1968 by President Lyndon B. Johnson.
It's important that these rivers stay trout fisheries and they stay with clean, cold water. And if this is one of the ways we can do that, I think the real applause needs to go to a lot of the conservation organizations that work so hard to make sure to get somebody like Mr. Zinke to be a part of this.
Josh says water access and usage is already stretched thin by a lot of users.
Be symbiotic for everybody, not just for one user group, is an important part of the conversation. I think bills like this help to ensure that we can continue to have those conversations that are so difficult to have sometimes.
Most importantly, Josh thinks of his students,
where they can have the things that we've had, and it's not just lost and they wind up not being outdoors.
In Bozeman, Megan Elaine, MTN News.
And good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Taking a live look outside our capital city. Beautiful day right now in Helena, 75 degrees, a few cirrus clouds, and also a couple of cumulus clouds developing over the mountains right now. Also looking beautiful in the Missoula area, even warmer. Some cirrus clouds, 84 degrees right now. It's not quite as warm in Butte, but it's a nice day. Partly cloudy, 71 degrees in the mining city with a chance of some showers and storms later on today. Bozeman, also a little bit warmer than that. It's already up to 76 degrees, but Billings, a little bit more comfortable than that. We have some low clouds, a little bit of sunshine, but it's only 68 degrees. And we'll let you know where the storms will be coming up.
Now it's time for today's leading look as we follow some of the other stories making headlines. Now, 2 men who died Saturday in a plane crash near West Glacier have been identified. The Flathead County Sheriff's Office says that 69-year-old Dwight Stephenson and 68-year-old Thomas Gladden, both of Washington State, died in the crash. A witness on scene told authorities the plane crashed shortly after takeoff from Ryan Field Saturday morning. In a statement to MTN, RAF extended its condolences to the families and thanked emergency responders. The investigation into the crash is ongoing in cooperation with federal officials. We now know the name of the suspect who died after a police pursuit in Cody that led to an officer-involved shooting. The Cody Police Department saying that the incident began Monday night about 8 when a city officer tried to stop the vehicle. The driver took off, first through the city and then eastbound on Wyoming State Highway. The pursuit ended near mile marker 58 when the suspect's car experienced some type of mechanical issue. We are told an officer tried to make contact with the suspect, who has been identified again as 22-year-old Lucas Alvestifer. The shots were apparently fired. Wyoming police have not shared exactly what led to the shooting, who fired first. No officers were hurt. Case is still under investigation. And we now know the name of the employee who died while working at the Stillwater mine. The Stillwater County Sheriff's Office says 50-year-old Brian Hansen of Laurel was killed Saturday by electrocution. Hansen was performing what we're told is routine maintenance on the east side of the mine when that terrible incident happened. Counseling resources remain available to workers and to workers' families. A proposal to bring a ballot measure to keep party labels out of Montana's judicial elections is taking another step forward. Yesterday, the group behind the effort submitted the language for its proposed constitutional amendment to the Montana Secretary of State's office. It would add just 3 words to the state constitution, stating that judges must be elected in nonpartisan elections. During the last 3 legislative sessions, some Republican lawmakers have sought to allow judicial candidates to run with political party labels. They argue these races are already politicized, and that would simply provide more transparency for voters to know what party they're affiliated with. However, the sponsors of this proposal measure say that they are convinced Montanans are happy with the current system.
This isn't a change for Montana. This is just codifying something that we've been doing in law for a long time, and instead of just being in statute, we're going to move it over into the state constitution. So what we're doing is we're preserving that Montana way of justice, and we think Montanans will react accordingly and support this overwhelmingly.
The proposed text and ballot statements must now be reviewed by legislative staff, then the Attorney General's office. If the Attorney General finds it legally sufficient, supporters will be able to start gathering signatures to try to qualify this issue for a 2026 ballot.